What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content that we have coming out. And with this video, we are jumping into Batman One Dark Knight. This will be book 1 of 3. This is written and drawn by Jock. And what Jock is trying to do here is show one story that is spanning over the course of one night, with Batman aiding the transfer of a metahuman known as E.M.P, trying to take him to his permanent home at Blackgate Prison, with the situation being in hand until it wasn't. Every light in Gotham goes out, the police are in disarray, and Batman has to fight his way through Gotham City to accomplish his mission. And so with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into book 1, we are picking up on Monday at 7:42 p.m. And right now, Gotham is bracing as temperatures are soaring sky high. Not really knowing why this is happening, it doesn't give much context to it, but it lets us know that it is becoming unbearably hot. But right now, Batman and Alfred are having a conversation in preparation for Arkham Asylum, preparing their outpatient. They are preparing him for transfer to Blackgate Prison. But that is not the only thing that Batman needs to concern himself with. And that is because petty crime all over the city is seeing a rise, with tensions increasing every single hour in this heat. It feels like this city is on a point of breaking. And while Batman isn't too concerned with that, with all of this energy in the air, with all of this heat, it is very dangerous trying to transport E.M.P. And as Batman is keeping tabs on all of this, we see what seem to be street-level goons, and they are making their way onto the streets, and they plan to follow Batman, because Batman will lead them to E.M.P. The gang calling themselves the Two Boys. With us unsure of what their motives are, we do know that a good amount of this city is going and following that bat signal. Now with this transfer, Batman is going to be up in the sky. With him keeping tabs up high, GCPD is going to be the escort bringing him across town. And Alfred is definitely keeping an eye on all the levels of E.M.P, currently having him in a sort of stasis. They're trying to stabilize him the best they possibly can, because the last thing they need is E.M.P erupting and taking out the entire city. But with him loaded up in the back of this truck, with GCPD starting their convoy, their mission begins, and they are trying to make their way all the way across Gotham. And we are given a map of the route that they are going to take. And along the city, we are seeing hotspots popping up all over the place. Petty crime is on a rise, gangs are out in numbers. The police, they are run thin all across the city. Gotham PD cannot be keeping up with this. With the police struggling all across the city, at Blackgate Prison at 7:46 p.m, they are prepping the cell that is going to hold E.M.P. Prepping his pod and prepping the stabilizing serum that is going to keep him in check and keep him from exploding. With Blackgate now being prepared and ready for the transfer, all they have to do is get across town. Now this is where we pick up with Montoya and Rita Vasquez. They are currently making their way to what appears to be some kind of conference, some kind of meeting, an event honoring the best and brightest among them. And we have Commissioner Gordon, who is currently talking to all of the people, but he quickly gives up the podium and has Miss Vasquez come up, and that is because she is the head of the Prison Bureau of Gotham City. And when she gets up there and does her speech, she lets us know that there appears to be some kind of new investments into the prison system, something of her doing. Talking about outdating old systems that no longer work, bringing in some kind of newer initiative, something she claims that is going to be safer containment for all involved. And the poster child for all of this is E.M.P, aka Edward M. Pressler, saying they are moving him from Arkham Asylum, his old cell, to a Blackgate cell that is state-of-the-art and will be perfect for him. This is her opportunity to show this initiative is going to work. And she hints to what happened the last time he escaped. Because the last time he escaped, something horrific happened. And because of that, they are ensuring that that never happens again. And she believes this initiative is going to do it. And it all begins with this one transfer. Now she's coming in and promising what we have seen 1,000 times over in Gotham City. Someone coming in and saying, you know what, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to change it. We're going away from the old ways. And at the end of the day, they usually end up realizing Batman is needed to coexist with this city. It's the only way that you can have any kind of control over what goes on. But as she gives this speech, we have gangs moving in on the location. Being able to see Batman up in the air, it gives them a good idea of where this convoy is. And what we see is one of these gang members holding a rocket launcher. Having that rocket launcher in hand, he unloads it and it shoots directly at the vehicle holding E.M.P. with a giant fiery explosion. This is pure chaos. And with that, E.M.P. is awake, with the vehicle on fire and gang members opening fire right on the streets at Gotham PD. This initiative that Miss Vasquez has been trying to do looks like it is coming to a fiery end. And with the gang members believing they had the upper hand and that was relatively too easy, this is where we see the Dark Knight come descending down on them. And these guys are nobodies. We see Batman make absolute quick work of them, leaving them bloody and bruised down on the ground. Batman's priority is to go and check on E.M.P., going and seeing that he is still strapped into the vehicle with some kind of consciousness. He is definitely in rough shape. And this is where our gangsters, they decide they're gonna hit him with another rocket. With the explosion going off, with Batman taking rounds and having to block them, he turns away just for a second away from E.M.P., turning back, seeing that he has already disappeared. And so this whole operation has gone straight foobar. And we have an argument between both Gordon and Miss Vasquez. The conversation is on the topic of really her messing this up. Gordon believing this was a bad idea from the start, that his place in Arkham was more than sufficient to hold him, believing that transferring him was the more dangerous of the two options. That is something that should have never been done, and now we have proof because E.M.P. is now on the loose. And so with the city on the verge of breaking, Batman is doing everything he can to try to hunt down E.M.P. and bring him in safely. And Batman tries to relate to him that he simply wants to help, to calm down, not let his vitals get too high. Because if E.M.P. explodes, it is going to be devastation. And it doesn't take long for the gangsters to realize that both Batman and E.M.P. got away. It appears that these gangsters had every intention of killing E.M.P. And so with the chase on, we see them making their way through Gotham City, from rooftop to rooftop. And as they pass by one room, we see a young boy by the name of Brody, with glowing red eyes. It appears he is going to be playing some significant role as this series continues on, with all of the gangsters all around the city hearing the news that E.M.P. is on the loose. You have some coming to his aid, you have others coming to kill him. And so with Gotham on the brink of all-out war, back at Blackgate, they are highly concerned about his escape. Because the serum, the situation, the pod, it needs him to create some kind of stability. Without him, it will just burn out. And because of that, they won't have somewhere to put him. But right now, that isn't even their biggest problem. Because their biggest issue right now is that E.M.P., his vitals are spiking. Having his power suppressed for so many years, finally being able to feel all of this energy, absorb all of this into him, it is making him more powerful by the second. He is literally a ticking time bomb getting ready to detonate. But Batman is not giving up, doing everything he can, staying right on the tail of E.M.P., making his way through this city. As they make their way to Broadway, this is when the gangs start locating them. with them opening fire on the rooftops, completely open in the streets, not having a care in the world, with one goal in mind, and that is to take down E.M.P. And if they can get Batman as well, that is 2 birds with 1 stone. But what we see is E.M.P. get a hold of some very high power electricity, being on Broadway, where it is full of neon lights and tons of power sources. We see him start absorbing electricity. With him grabbing onto this power line, we see him supercharged. And as the power builds up inside of his body, he cannot control it, he cannot contain it. Batman doing everything he can to disconnect him from the power line, but it is already too late. He has too much power. He is already too charged. And as gangsters down from the ground shoot rockets up to the building top, we see E.M.P. get to the point of explosion. Right before he detonates, he says the word Brody, and falling down from the building, with the rocket detonating the ground underneath his feet, we see E.M.P. go falling from the sky. He falls all the way down, landing directly on the Batman spotlight. We see a detonation that covers the entirety of Gotham City, and in one giant flash, everything shuts down. Vehicles shut down, electricity, the power grid is completely offline, and we see the young boy Brody going up to his rooftop and seeing that this is a city-wide blackout. Getting a panned out view, getting that skyline view, it is absolute darkness. And it is now 9:01 p.m. Batman bloodied, he's bruised, going over to check on E.M.P. only to see that he is still breathing, having no communication back with Alfred or anybody else, with E.M.P. now being unconscious, with Blackgate being 4.6 miles away, Dawn being 8 hours away, with gangs all in the streets. Batman has to get on the move, and so throwing him over his shoulder, Batman is about to do things the hard way. Alright gang, so diving into issue number 2, we are picking up on the Upper East Side. It is currently 9:48 p.m. as the city is covered in darkness. All of the criminal elements are making their way into the streets. Mobs are forming everywhere, and everybody is looking for Batman and E.M.P. Everybody has their marching orders, and so everybody is on the move, either hunting or trying to save E.M.P. This city is about to explode, and that's what takes us to Broadway. Right now, Batman is 3.8 miles away from Blackgate, carrying 182 pounds of dead weight. This is no easy task, but if he can maintain this pace, he will be there before dawn. One of the big issues right now is Batman is feeling fatigue very heavily. His brain function is dropping because the electrical charges that are inside of his brain, E.M.P. keeps draining them as he goes in and out of consciousness. And so his cognitive ability, it's going in and out right now. As he makes his way through these alleyways, this is when he runs into his first encounter. These guys are Maroni soldiers. Now they are on the side of E.M.P. They're trying to rescue him from Batman. So Batman knows these guys aren't going to go full in. They're not just going to unload their guns. Being able to disarm them and take them down. While he was able to take these guys down, he knows it's not going to be this simple moving forward. Eventually, he's going to run into people who just want to kill them. But Batman keeps pressing forward. Over on East Broadway, this is where we have a flipped over GCPD vehicle. Inside of this, we have Vasquez, we have Montoya, and we have Commissioner Gordon. With their vehicle being on fire, they have to get out of here as quickly as possible. With the mob descending down on them, they have to get Gordon out of here. That mob is going to come directly for him, leaving Vasquez behind to get Montoya out of there. They take off. Montoya bleeding on the ground, begging for any kind of help. Vasquez looks at her and then walks away. As the mob descends down on that vehicle and surrounds it, we see Vasquez walking away from the car and leaving Montoya to her demise. As she makes her way back to GCPD's headquarters, this is where she lets them know that she wasn't able to save Montoya. acting like she is panicked and frantic. These police officers, they go running in rescue of her. Outside their headquarters, there's an apartment building. She goes upstairs, and this is where she is supposed to be running into a young boy by the name of Brody. And she is saying that if things go how they think it will, they are going to need this kid. The only issue is, he made his escape, jumping out the window when no one was paying attention. Now she has to go on the search for whoever this kid may be. And we'll quickly learn that with a conversation between E.M.P and Batman, taking us to downtown at 10:14 p.m. And E.M.P, he really doesn't want to go back to Blackgate. He knows what containment feels like. He's awake the entire time. And while he feels guilty for a lot of the things that he has done, the truth is he doesn't want to be put into that. And we really do see the great side of Batman, because he lets him know that it wasn't all his fault. But right now, gangs are wreaking havoc across the entire city. Some of them want you dead, some of them want to try and rescue you, with E.M.P still refusing to go on because he needs to find Brody. He needs to tell him what actually happened to his mother. And he divulges his deep, dark secrets. He was out of control. The same old story as usual. A junkie who just can't control his abilities. The only problem is when he overloaded this time, it caused a charge in a few block radius and made many individuals brain damage. Hundreds of innocent people, families, fathers, mothers, children, saying how could he live with himself? How can he go on knowing what he has done? What he has done to Brody's mother, because he is the one responsible for getting Brody into foster family care. He is Brody's father. He made his own son an orphan. Divulging one last piece of information, he says that there was more to this, more for the reason of him being transferred to begin with to Blackgate. There was another family that was affected in the blast. There was one survivor, and it was Vasquez. But before he can say this information, before he can get that name fully out, he takes a round to the shoulder. A rival gang is unloading on them and they have to make their escape, barely being able to save Edward's life. He grabs hold of him and he is able to get him out of here just in the nick of time, picking back up with the individual who has been taking care of Brody this whole time. We have Vasquez telling them that they need to go out there and they need to find him, but they are getting marching orders from the head of the gangs that they need to take down E.M.P, that he is the priority right now. With this city truly coming to life, the streets are filled with all kinds of factions and gangs. With 3 miles left till he reaches Blackgate, he's still got one hell of a fight ahead of him. That is when we are taken to the Upper East Side. At 10:58 p.m., we are seeing 2 rival gangs. One of these gangs just so happens to have Brody's foster father. As these gangs are about to get underway, Brody goes to interfere. Seeing his foster father hit in the face, Brody goes running in. He goes running in only to get hit himself. This is when things really start getting heated. As someone is about to fire a gun, that is where Batman comes in, using his grappling hook to knock that gun out of his hand. We have Oscar, the foster father, telling Brody that he needs to get out of here. To get out of here and go home as quickly as possible. And he really is let down. Brody just wanted to help out. Now obviously this is no place for a kid, and it's probably best that he does go home. But right now he is feeling like he could be helping out more. With all of the attention on Batman, they are trying to take him out. With his cognitive ability really lapsing right now, he has to try to make his escape. Too many guns, too much fire, running out of all kinds of equipment on his belt. He is just trying to stay alive at this point. He is trying to make some kind of distance between him and them. With Brody walking home, this is when he runs into Vasquez. And what she starts doing is berating him. She belittles him, makes him feel like nothing. This is all an attempt to see the true power that he wields. Seeing the red glow in his eyes, she continues to taunt him. She continues to make him feel like nothing. to feel like everything that has happened in his life, it is all his fault. And eventually, he goes nuclear. We see a giant blast of energy coming out of Brody, because just like his father, he did a small localized EMP blast. Batman, seeing this off in the distance, he knows that there has got to be something bigger at play. Vasquez quickly recognizing that this is exactly what she needed. She grabs hold of him and she starts dragging him off. And as Batman makes his way through this city, he can't help but think to himself that he thought the city was stronger. He believed that chaos wouldn't ensue so quickly, that the people would actually stand up and stop this nonsense. Instead, what he is seeing is his city descend at the quickest rate possible. And even though all of this is happening, he refuses to believe that they can overcome this, that they can't come back from this. He knows that this city is better than this. As some blocks of Gotham City are starting to get lights again, it looks like there might be some hope in this city. The only issue with this, that means Batman has to go around anywhere there are lights. And that's because E.M.P would immediately absorb it. As he skirts around, he is able to get in communication with Alfred. Now this is only momentarily, trying to give his location, trying to let him know what is going on. While the communication may go out, Batman just ran into some luck. At the West Docks at 2:04 a.m., what we have is the Batplane. Now it had been going in the city, just doing circles for quite some time. Having the cloaking device up, no one was able to see it. When the EMP went off, it knocked the Batplane out of the sky, crash landing here at the docks. And this thing had supplies in the cockpit. As he goes up to get inside of the aircraft, this is when an ambush ensues. Getting completely caught off guard. He knows that he should have known better than this. He should have anticipated this. But with his brain still being scrambled up, he is not thinking correctly. So much so that he even runs into a dead end. Knowing he should be doing better, knowing that his mind is being altered, he has to try to get out of this. As these gangs begin to unload everything they have, Batman has to drop E.M.P and make his way to the rooftops. And in dropping him, the gangs, they drag him into the sewer system. These guys are really trying to keep him alive. For the time being, they're not gonna kill him. But on some other rooftops, we have a rival gang who have every intention of doing so, with them throwing Molotov cocktails down on the ground. We see the brawl break out between the two. This gives Batman ample opportunity. Using his grappling hook, he swings down to the ground, and like a hole-in-one, he lands directly into the sewer. And getting down there, it is absolute darkness. This is where Batman thrives. This is where he lives. And so while the city has had the upper hand on him, the darkness is owned by Batman. Alright gang, so as we jump into the final issue of Batman One Dark Knight, we are picking up in Gotham South sewers. It is 4:16 a.m. and inside these sewers, it is nothing but darkness. Up on the surface, right now, this city is tearing itself apart. E.M.P's gang was able to get him into the sewer system, hoping to be able to take E.M.P away from Batman. As he traverses through all of this darkness, he knows that dawn is approaching, and if he doesn't locate E.M.P before the sun rises, the chaos of the pitch black city will be nothing, as all of his senses are firing at maximum capacity, with visibility less than 10%. And while he may try to fight away the darkness, trying to adjust his eyes to any glimpse of light, he knows that the darkness is somewhere that he thrives. The darkness is who he is. As he makes his way through, this is where he finds E.M.P. E.M.P looking like he might be some kind of sacrifice, or more than likely, some kind of trap. All of E.M.P's gang members surrounding him on the ground, unconscious. As he begins to really understand this situation, we see very zombie-like creatures begin coming out of every entryway. Batman not really sure who these people are or what they are doing here. They are nothing more than religious zealots. One that worship the one who lives in the sewers. The one, the only, Killer Croc. These freaks down in the sewers, they bring Killer Croc kinds of offerings. For Croc, he absolutely loves this setup. He really doesn't have to do much of anything anymore. He is ruling his own little kingdom down here in the sewers. But tonight, he has one of the most delectable of all treats, having the Dark Knight himself up his offering. Now, this is when we are shown Vasquez and Brody. Brody being the son of E.M.P. By all appearances, she has kidnapped Brody. Being a member of the GCPD, we see that she has gone sideways. She has gone corrupt, hell-bent on finding E.M.P. She is going to use Brody in any way necessary to bring E.M.P. in, but she has no intention of arresting him. She has her own agenda and her own plans, knowing that the one place they are headed is Blackgate Bridge. The final battle will be held right there on that one-way entrance to Blackgate. As they make their way there, we pick up back down in our sewer system, and Killer Croc is giving Batman one heck of a beating, with Batman trying to let Killer Croc know that I can save E.M.P., I can get him out of here, I can stop all of this from happening. The truth is, Croc has no intention of letting Batman or E.M.P. leave this sewer system, finally having some kind of pool, and now he has a bargaining chip, not knowing what he could possibly get for E.M.P. He knows that it will be a lot. And so if Batman lets him stay, Killer Croc will let Batman leave alive. As the two of them continue their brawl, we see Batman getting overwhelmed by all of these worshippers of Killer Croc, already beaten and bruised. Usually any other day, this fight would be something that he could easily take care of, but he has been carrying an entire person, battling his way through this city. And so right now, he is struggling just to stay on his feet. Meanwhile, in the financial district, what we see are multiple gangs starting to gang up together. There is a citywide truce. Everyone is gunning for E.M.P. Combining their forces, they head off to Blackgate Bridge. Down in the sewers, we have Batman, who is just getting a beatdown, unable to keep up this fighting. If Batman does not act quickly, he is going to be taken out by Killer Croc. Over at the West Docks, we have Vasquez and Brody making their way to Blackgate Bridge. Brody, he sees some GCPD officers trying to get their attention, running over to them, hoping that they might just save him. What he doesn't know is that they are under her thumb. At least most of them are. The one individual that is not, we see the other officers, they grab hold of him. They put him down on his knees, and Vasquez executes him right there on the spot. He doesn't even know what is going on, why this is happening, but they want no loose ends. They want nothing that is going to bring this back to her. And so any cop that is not on her side or more or less under her payroll, they get dealt with immediately. As she ties up all of the loose ends, we are taken back down into the sewer at 5:04 a.m. Dawn is approaching. Batman knows that he needs to get out of here, using phosphorus to light up the darkness. This sends everything in the sewers running in opposite directions. This is only temporary, but this gives him the opportunity to get on his feet. Just a small distraction so that he can have the opportunity to fight back. Having broken ribs, lacerations all over his body, every fiber in his body is telling him to call it. Getting up on his feet, he taunts Killer Croc. Killer Croc coming and charging directly at him. He uses the momentum of Croc, taking him and throwing him over his shoulder. Killer Croc landing directly into the wall and knocking him out temporarily. As all of the worshippers, they run off in all different directions. He grabs hold of E.M.P., with E.M.P. letting him know that he can feel it coming again, that he doesn't want to hurt anybody, that he never meant to hurt a single soul. And Batman, he knows this. He knows that E.M.P. never had intentions of hurting anybody, knowing that he is running out of time, but with Blackgate just in the distance, he has one block to go. Picking up at Wayne Manor, we have Alfred, who is finally being able to get in communication with Batman. As the city's grid begins to come back online, the only place that is still dark is 2 blocks surrounding Blackgate Prison. Running out of time with the sun beginning to rise up, they make it to the surface. They make it to Blackgate Bridge, thinking that they have finally figured it out, that they have finally made it after all that has happened tonight. Off in the distance, this is where Batman hears them. All of the gangs that have joined up together, they have accumulated right here at Blackgate Bridge. Having rocket launchers, they begin shooting at Batman. The rockets propelling through the air, detonating and damaging this bridge beyond repair. Not only that, it separates Batman and E.M.P. from one another. E.M.P.'s powers beginning to really manifest. It looks like he is about to explode as all of the gangs, they come in on Batman. Batman trying to do everything he can to fight off all of these gang members. There are simply too many of them. Not only that, on the other side of the bridge, where E.M.P. is standing getting ready to go nuclear, this is where we see Vasquez and Brody. E.M.P. immediately freaks out. This is his son. He doesn't want him to see him in this manner. Not like this. Batman, recognizing that there are far too many gang members to take on, he leaps from the bridge, being able to make it to the other side when another rocket comes at him. This rocket detonating directly in front of him. It knocks Batman down to the ground. Vasquez goes on to tell Brody that that loser right there, E.M.P., that is your father. That is your real dad, and he is the one responsible for your mother's death. Trying to taunt him, trying to let Brody know that he is the reason for everything wrong in your life. Trying to turn father against son, son against father, hoping to use him to put E.M.P. down forever. Brody goes up to his father, but the exact opposite of what she wants happens. The two of them embrace one another, but E.M.P. still is losing control as he gets bigger and bigger, as the energy surrounding him begins to look like it is going to flare throughout the entire city. Brody gets ready to take down Vasquez, trying to turn him against his own father, trying to use him as a weapon. The rage builds up inside of him, but this is where Batman steps in, letting him know that this is not the way. As Vasquez tries to open fire on E.M.P., the bullets do not reach him. The energy field surrounding him, it melts the bullets immediately. As E.M.P. begs Batman for some kind of help. If he blows up, everybody on this bridge is going to die. Not only that, it will cause ridiculous amounts of damage to this city, telling Brody to stay put, that he is going to go save his father. This was a lie. The truth is, there is only one option: tackling E.M.P. The two of them begin to fall off this bridge. We see E.M.P. fall into the water. Whatever blast does happen, the water absorbs most of that output. Batman being able to save himself by using his grappling hook. Coming back up onto the bridge, he grabs hold of Brody and he embraces him. This is more or less what Vasquez had wanted. E.M.P. is now dead. He was responsible for the death of her family. She simply wanted revenge. Now that that revenge has been had, she thinks that she can simply walk away from this. But Batman lets her know that that is not an option. Not really in a position to try and stop her. She even lets Batman know, who are they going to believe? The head of Gotham's entire prison service. or some vigilante and a dropout kid. The only problem, Jim Gordon has been listening in on this conversation. He has heard everything that she has had to say, more or less confessing to her guilt. And so when she turns around, she sees Jim Gordon and the GCPD. In Gotham Harbor a little bit later, we see the body of E.M.P being airlifted out of the area, still having a heartbeat and a pulse. Somehow, some way, E.M.P lives, rushing him over to Blackgate. The GCPD mopping up gang members and Vasquez and anybody that was under her thumb. Communication all around the city begins coming back up. This city has suffered greatly this night, and now there is a lot that needs cleaning up, criminals that need taking down. And so Batman, patching up his wounds, he heads back into Gotham City, and he does what he does best. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. A 3-issue miniseries, it was really a lot of fun. This is straight up just street level Batman making his way through the city as it comes alive and turns against him. No technology, no power, no communication. It is Batman and his fists trying to make it through this hellish landscape. And Jacques did a great job not only on this storytelling but on the artwork, because it is very unique. It's very nitty gritty. It fits this story very well. Usually I'm not a fan of this type of artwork because it's very sketchy, it's very messy, but I think it does fit this story very well. It really complements the writing. More than anything, this is just a night as Batman. This is the day in and day out of what Batman does for the city. This is Batman operating at his finest. And I do think that 3 50-page issues really is where it's at least for this story. It was a little bit disappointing that it took so long for it to come out. I think it was bi-monthly, so every other month we were getting an issue. It might have even been every 2 months, which kind of sucked because I had to go back and reread things that happened in the previous issues just to refresh my memory because I'm reading so many comics all the time. So I would have liked to see it be a monthly comic. I think that would have made the story much more interesting, and it would have kept people invested in everything going on. But that is really my only one complaint out of this entire story. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you would like to get caught up on everything that happened in this series, be sure to check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything going on with Batman One Dark Knight. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by hitting the Super Thanks button. This button will let you donate directly to the channel, and every little bit helps us out. Now, if you can't do that, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and until the next breakdown.